This channel is sponsored by Loot Crate, the monthly subscription box that's always filled with surprises for gamers and geeks alike. If you're interested, go to lootcrate.com/Hawke525 and after choosing your crate, type in promo code Hawke525 for a 10% discount. The link and promo code will be in the description box below. Thanks guys, and hope you enjoy the show. What's up everyone, Sean here, and welcome to my review for Dragon Ball FighterZ, the first true 2D team-based hyper-fighting game for the series, and it's definitely one of the most anticipated fighting games of this year. It already came out right at the start, and it's soaking in all the excitement, the hype, and the praise, and everything else. And I was such a huge fan of the series as a child, or early child, and this is kind of a dream come true in a way. Now, before I express my thoughts on this game anyway, and this is the PS4 version, mind you, I would love to dive into the source material, or its history anyway, of the series Dragon Ball. Dragon Ball FighterZ comes from the Dragon Ball franchise, which all began with the manga written and illustrated by Akira Toriyama, and starting with Dragon Ball from 1984. Its anime aired in Japan in early 1986 with 153 episodes in total. Although it was an instant hit, it was overshadowed by its more action-oriented sequel, Dragon Ball Z. While the manga kept its same name throughout the series, even during the Buu saga, the anime went under the name Dragon Ball Z that first aired in April 1989 with 291 episodes starting with the Saiyan saga of the Dragon Ball manga. In the manga, the Saiyan saga began in October 1988. Its anime rendition was such a huge phenomenon both in Japan and other countries later on, that everyone since to this day refers it by the Z name. So, the manga in the US added the Z to avoid any confusion. In the US, the anime first aired on Cartoon Network's Toonami block on August 31st, 1998, which was dubbed by Funimation, although they weren't the first to do so. Dragon Ball Z came in at the right time along with other anime thanks to shows such as Pokemon. With that, its popularity grew even bigger and hasn't died down ever since. After its end, it spawned the anime spin-off Dragon Ball Grand Tour, or GT, airing in Japan on February 1996 with only 64 episodes. After 18 years of being dormant, Dragon Ball finally came out with a direct sequel to Dragon Ball Z, so making it kind of canonical in a way, with Dragon Ball Super, with its anime airing on July 2015 in Japan, while its manga published in June 2015. Dragon Ball has been one of the biggest influences for many things, including the original big three of Shonen Jump, consisting of One Piece, Naruto, and Bleach. Many protagonists in many animes take after Goku and also the storytelling, and has been parodied many times.
Well, you know what? Power levels, Super Saiyans, and you, Shin Kiko! Oh, that's Adora Shin!
It's been an influence on me personally when it comes to art. Ever since its beginning, it has spawned many movies and video games, starting with the Super Cassette Vision. Now here's an interesting fact. Arc has actually already made another fighting game featuring Dragon Ball before FighterZ, but it was only on the 3DS. With that, people dreamed of a true fighting game experience brought to the bigger screens. And now, on January 26, 2018, we are given our true, traditional, team-based hyper-fighting game by yours truly, Arc Systems, for consoles and PC. People exploded with such excitement and hype ever since its first reveal at E3, and of course some of its leaks before. This 3-on-3 fighting game borrows similar mechanics from several fighting games, especially the Marvel vs. Capcom series with its button scheme and team mechanics. This definitely feels close to Marvel vs. Capcom 3 with the 3 attack buttons, light, medium, and heavy, and a special attack button which fires key blasts along with team assist buttons, bringing out that teamwork aspect in the anime. Now I know there's a whole lot of history and introductions to say about, but now we can actually get into the stuff that I actually really liked about this game. One of the most obvious ones is the overall visual presentation, including its graphics and the art direction. Its looks alone captures the essence of Dragon Ball's distinct art style and action. Everything from the characters, intros, to the attacks are absolutely and literally a blast to watch. Even the stages are really interesting to look at, especially with its destruction effects. You can tell the amount of effort the devs put into making the game look really good and make it look like the show. The overall presentation seems really neat, having to go with the hub system to navigate the menu, seeing many chibi versions of the characters walking around. Everything else from the character select screen, versus screen, and the UI are done right. Choosing Arc Systems to develop the game was undeniably the best thing that happened for FighterZ. They used the same engine that brought Guilty Gear Xr's rocking good looks to the home screen. It renders that cel-shaded look so well, which was perfect for Dragon Ball. The attention to detail is just astonishing. Continuing to create that illusion of 2D, but using that 3D engine for dynamic camera angles. This makes it a real treat to watch even during tournaments. Now, even with the complete lack of 2D hand-drawn animated cutscenes in this game, all these 3D cutscenes definitely make up for it undeniably. It makes me really wish that all this love and effort kind of continues to trend across all the other fighting games in the future from other companies. Now, if there were to be an anime that uses this same exact method, I should be down for that. Like, really. And I love 2D. Adding to the visuals, the sounds and music only back it up flawlessly, as the voice acting and sound effects just nail it. Although it contains much of the cast from the Dragon Ball Kai series, which is a retelling of Dragon Ball Z, but it's closer to the original manga material in terms of storytelling. And despite the age of the veteran Japanese voice actors who have been around longer, they can still hold it together for their characters mostly, and brings out that Dragon Ball experience that much more in a video game. As I grow up with Japanese voices, I just prefer it over English voices. However, with that being said, I must commend the English cast for translating that Dragon Ball energy that they brought from the old days on Toonami over to the game. The sound effects are straight from the show, and it's just more icing on the cake. The music has that Guilty Gear rock / metal going on, which only complements the action-oriented nature of the franchise. And they just came out with the music pack for the TV shows and via DLC, and it just fills me that much more nostalgia from the series. The gameplay gets my praise as well. While the button scheme and the game mechanics are similar to Marvel's Capcom 3's, the game itself feels quite different. It is slower but still feels robust, meaty, and thematic. Anyone can get into the game right away with its auto combo system, as much of a complaint is for several other people. But the game can get technical as you meet higher level gameplay. And overall, the auto combos can only take you so far. Many strings of combos are difficult at the start, as it requires you to jump cancel to extend air combos rather than just pressing buttons like you would with Marvel 3 with most characters. But with time and dedication, you'll get the feel, and it's satisfying once you can consistently land those intermediate combos. The pros are already coming up with some nasty setups and combos, which is quite the spectacle to watch. They even incorporated a mechanic somehow with the 7 Dragon Balls, which grants you a choice of several effects to help you out in the fight, although that is a rare occasion to see during competitive play. The addition of loot boxes is interesting, especially during the year of loot boxes and AAA titles last year, but they're not so bad here, since you can only get these loot boxes in-game and they're all purely cosmetic. The roster is a whole highlight itself. This time around, the devs were very selective with these characters. They really wanted to make these characters fight uniquely as possible, so the roster is relatively compact, at least at launch anyway. A lot of other fighting games with Dragon Ball may have way more characters, but 90% of these characters wind up feeling the same, especially with the Budokai Tenkaichi series. But here, it's a bit of a different story. While there are fighters that are similar with each other, the devs managed to make a number of these characters just unique enough to make the roster fun to choose from, especially with Captain Ginyu, Beerus, Hit, and so on. This was a difficult task as there are so many fighters or characters to choose from and please everyone. Of course, we can't forget the welcoming addition of the new character, Android 21. They really did a good job selecting characters for the launch of this game with 24 characters. There are some unexpected but great choices such as Nappa. All in all, despite its small number, it feels diverse enough for you to pick and choose a fun team to start out with. Now I gotta say, the references from the anime are just awesome in this game. They try to cram in much of the inside jokes, quirks, and some of the scenes from the series in this game. Every move you see in this game is straight from the show, especially those level 3 supers. And the engine does a great job capturing those angles. Now, as much praise I do give for FighterZ, and it definitely deserves all that, there are faults that I have to address here. While the game does offer a fully fledged story mode, it however falls short overall despite its length. You'll find it repetitive rather quickly as you are fighting mostly just clones in this mode. Although the cutscenes are really neat to look at with its dialogue, you just wish that there were actually some action scenes with dynamic camera angles like they were in Guilty Gear Xrd story mode. I mean, it is using that same engine after all, right? The character intros felt more dynamic and energetic than all the cutscenes offered here. Otherwise, they're just mostly standing around, talking and shooting some beams here and there. The story itself overall doesn't really offer too much other than the new character Android 21's backstory, but you'll have to grind with her through these clone fights just to see all the important bits, and also you can see the same thing for other characters for extra cutscenes. The story mode is broken down into 3 arcs that last about 3 hours each, depending on how deep you want to go with these cutscenes. I felt like it should have just been 2 arcs, but jam-pack it a little more for each of the arcs. One arc should have featured all the sagas from Dragon Ball Z to show and help fresh newcomers catch up on the story with those beautiful 3D graphics and all that, all the way up to the Buu saga. Yeah, it's been repeated so many times in other games, but I think this time around it feels necessary as many fresh newcomers come in from different communities of fighting games and other groups as well. The other arc should have been the new story featuring Android 21 and the rest of the androids. She's a pretty interesting character who definitely has the looks and appeal, but it's too bad that you have to go through all the repetitive and tiresome grinding just to get through the lore on 21. Along with that, the payoff comes rather weak, especially with the repetitive objectives, and made me feel disappointed for the most part. Although, you can do this to unlock the Super Saiyan Blues, Goku and Vegeta, which is kind of rare nowadays. You always have to, either buy DLC or something along those lines. So it's kind of nice to see that tradition returning back to here for at least a little bit. The other negative I must address is its online experience. Although it does feature the multi-room private lobby for you and your friends, all the other parts are just kind of wonky. The netcode can get pretty bad depending on the connection with your opponent. Although rage quitting is quite common here, there are numerous times of people experiencing disconnects during matches from what I've been seeing. And it makes it look like rage quits, unfortunately, so it makes that other player look bad. There are actually some desyncing issues depending on whose character intros play out. And setting up private lobbies can be a fucking pain in the ass. I had to keep modifying and changing my name just to be able to get in the lobby with my buddies in the first place. It is quite a serious bug that they have to really address soon. That is solely one of the reasons why I don't really play the game as much as I wanted to. Although, the game does offer an online party mode where you and 2 of your buddies can form a trio with their selected characters and fight other trios of players. How fun does that sound? As someone who hasn't really kept up with Dragon Ball in a long time ever since GT, this is a great wake-up call. This is definitely getting me motivated with myself, starting to watch Dragon Ball Super sometime down the road that everyone's been talking about on Twitter. And of course, I would love to start myself watching the movies and skipping the first 20 episodes or something like that for the anime series. But nonetheless, I would love to get myself started on Super down the line just because of this. This is such an eye-opening experience. It feels genuine and nostalgic. It really gets my inner Dragon Ball fan going again, ever since my early childhood days. And just look at the game, man. It's just such a great experience, and I think with that, this is the greatest way to experience Dragon Ball as a fan out there for a video game anyway. So with that, all that love and effort, it definitely deserves all the praise. It really shows that the devs were huge fans of the game, and this game absolutely, in my opinion, reflects that a lot. So with that, I give it a strong 8 out of 10 with that recommendation for all Dragon Ball fans and fighting game fans alike. I think they'll like it just for the gameplay alone, or the graphics, the sounds, and everything. All the important bits for a fighting game are there. They're definitely on point. Now, the story mode could have used some work. The online experience could use some fixing as well. But hopefully we'll see some of that down the line. We're already seeing something going on. So hopefully over time it'll become a more robust experience. Hopefully by the time the first season pass kind of ends and we get our first couple of characters for DLC. Now, speaking of that, we are getting Brawly and also Bardock, of all people, as the first wave of DLC anyway, as they announced it not too long ago. So I really can't wait to see those guys make it in there. It makes me really hope to see, you know, characters like Cooler, but other characters, you know, I love to see General Tao or Tao Pai Pai for the Japanese fans, Master Roshi, of course, and how could we forget Mr. Satan or Hercule? He's got to make it in there somehow. He's definitely going to have all the gimmicks and the jokes and the gags and all that stuff that we see from Dragon Ball Z. And of course, this definitely needs more female characters just to balance things out. Especially if you know, they can definitely add the female Super Saiyans in there, like Khalifa and all that stuff, and perhaps other female characters like Launch. That'd be great. You know, have that girl with the guns and stuff like that. That'd be really awesome to see. You know, as a fighting game anyway, and even perhaps a Bulma in the mech suit to kind of pay tribute to the passing voice actress Hiromi Tsuru. That didn't happen not too long ago, unfortunately. So hopefully we can hear the new voice actors. I think her name is Aya Hirakawa, I believe. Please forgive me for the butchering of the name in case. But I feel like that would be kind of like a passing on the torch kind of thing for that. If they do that anyway, but that'd be really cool. But I love to see those characters come make it into the DLC pack anyway. But maybe later down the road for like season 2 or something. That'd be really cool to see. I think this game will get a lot of love, a lot of stuff put in there for a pretty good amount of time. Just seeing how popular Dragon Ball is and how big of a hit it is right now. I think it definitely will happen. But it definitely gives me hope for other animes to get this kind of love and treatment or effort or whatever. Like One Piece, My Hero Academia, Naruto/Boruto. All those games make sense because they all come from Namco Bandai when it comes to other video games. So it all just makes sense since Bandai is the publisher for this title anyway. And of course, other Dragon Ball games do come from the same company anyway, so it's like it all lines up for that. But I personally would love to see One Piece. I am a huge fan of that. It's my number one for right now, at least, and I would love to see something like that for this anyway. But meanwhile, we have Dragon Ball FighterZ to enjoy, and I think this is going to be here for a very long time, and we can enjoy it in the meanwhile. Lastly, I think this is definitely going to be a strong contender for probably Game of the Year, but definitely Fighting Game of the Year as well. I think it'll definitely take it as well. Just looking at the competition for right now, there is Cross Tag Battle, there is Smash coming out for the Switch. Apparently this year, but it could get delayed, whatever. But there is also Soul Calibur 6 coming out this year as well. So there is some competition going on, but I think overall this is going to take it. It is a huge hit with both the fans and the casuals alike, including the Xenoverse people. But anyways, I think it's a huge hit that it deserves the Fighting Game of the Year for 2018 anyways. So I think it's going to happen, but we'll have to see. Things do change, so I wouldn't, get on that that bandwagon just yet. But it is definitely a strong contender anyways. So anyways, it's pretty much it for this video. Thank you guys so much for tuning in for this in-depth review of Dragon Ball FighterZ. Really enjoyed myself making this. It was a huge pleasure, and hopefully you guys had a fun time watching as well. If you have any comments or anything like that, leave it down below for FighterZ, anything fighter related. I'd love to check them out, and don't forget to hit the like and subscribe if you haven't already. For you guys who are new to the channel, really appreciate it because it really helps out. If you also want to help out a little more, there are links to the description box below, including Loot Crate, and also you can check me out on Twitter and all that stuff. I do live stream, blah blah blah. All that stuff is in the description box below. So thank you guys so much. If you guys take the time to do so, really appreciate it. And that's pretty much it for this video. Who knows what I'm going to review next? Just going to have to wait and see. So until then, I'll see you guys in the next video. Ciao now.